If you are looking to support the channel and arcade economy, please consider becoming a YouTube member or patron on Patreon. Your support is what helps this channel grow. I'm extremely grateful for all the positive feedback Arcade Economy has received. Thank you as always, and please enjoy this episode. Faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, and able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. These are the iconic phrases that introduced the Man of Steel. And in 1988, Taito brought Superman to the arcade, attempting to capture the heroic action of the legendary DC Comics hero in coin-op form, complete with his signature powers and an ambitious mix of beat-em-up and flying stages. What's up, citizens? Welcome back to another episode of Arcade Economy, the show where we dive into the history, mechanics, and true financial cost of beating classic arcade cabinets. In my last episode, we were transferred back to Isla Nublar for Jurassic Park. This time, we're flying to Metropolis to examine Taito's Superman. Today's mission is to figure out just how many coins it cost to save the day back in '88. Did Superman rescue your cash just as effectively as he rescued Lois Lane? We're gonna find out. Due to his superpowers and influence of the genre, Superman is considered to be the first true superhero of comic books. Created all the way back in 1938, Superman's career has spanned nearly a century of popularity across many different forms of media, including comics, TV shows, and movies. So it makes sense that the character would be the first superhero to be featured in a video game when Superman released for the Atari 2600 in 1979. Sure, this game looks dated now, and it is, but at the time, this was considered to be one of the best. The Man of Tomorrow would appear in two other video games before making his arcade debut: 1985's Superman the Game for the Commodore 64, and 1987's Superman for the NES. Then, in 1988, Taito released Superman the Arcade Game under the direction of Toshiyuki Nishimura. The arcade game was met with mostly mixed reception, with some of its gameplay feeling a little stiff and dated compared to other beat-em-ups at the time. After this, Soup's video game struggles would continue with a long list of mediocre to straight-out bad games releasing over the course of the next few decades. These include 1992's Superman for the Sega Genesis, 1994's The Death and Return of Superman for the SNES and Genesis, Superman 64, widely considered one of the worst games ever made, and two 2002 releases, Superman Shadow of Apocalypse for the PS2 and GameCube, and Superman the Man of Steel for Xbox. Listen, I'm pretty well versed in the video game and comic books world and have been for a while, and Superman the Man of Steel must be some type of Mandela effect for me, because I don't ever remember this game being a thing. It's also really bad, and that's probably why. Getting back to Taito's Superman arcade game though, I'm not entirely sure what Taito was smoking when they came up with this game's storyline. The player takes control of Superman, of course, and must stop an alien invasion from the evil Emperor Zsasz. If you're not familiar with Emperor Zsasz, that's because he's a completely original character made specifically for the game. There is an option to play as a second player who I initially thought was Captain Marvel, aka Shazam, but upon further inspection, no, this character is just a red palette-swapped Superman. It is possible that the idea for the second player's Red Superman came from the comic story The Amazing Story of Superman Red and Superman Blue, which was published in 1963, but the more I think about this game and its comic accuracy, the more I'm inclined to believe that this is just a coincidence. Taito had the Superman IP, so why wouldn't they just use characters from Superman's Rogues Gallery like Brainiac? I mean, Emperor Zsasz kind of looks like Brainiac. In fact, most of the enemies in the game are all original characters. I've seen a few websites reference that Lex Luthor is in the game in some of the alien ships, but this doesn't really make sense to me, and while he kind of looks like Lex Luthor, in reality I think he's just supposed to be Emperor Zsasz. One of the bosses does resemble Metallo, but again, this might just be a generic robot created by Taito. Naturally, the action kicks off in Metropolis, where the player must fight their way through the alien invasion, but the schemes of Emperor Zsasz will soon drag you across the country to familiar locations like San Francisco, Las Vegas, and Washington, D.C. Side note, someone forgot to tell Taito that Mount Rushmore isn't in Washington, D.C. Upon starting the game, you'll also notice that the game does feature the Superman movie theme song throughout most of its levels. Superman the arcade game is a beat-em-up at heart with a few shoot-em-up levels. Your core toolkit is classic arcade hero fare. You can punch, kick, and this being Superman, effortlessly fly. This is one of the mechanics that I felt the game does very well. Switching from ground to aerial combat feels exceptionally smooth. Taito gave our hero a bit more firepower than just punches and kicks though. Players can hold down the punch button to charge it up and release a powerful sonic blast projectile. You know, that power that Superman has. The environment contains some objects you can interact with too, allowing players to grab or throw items like cars or boxes, or simply smash through them, often revealing vital pickups hidden within. However, throwing objects wasn't really intuitive and felt very stiff. And speaking of pickups, players will want to snag blue, gold, and red crystals. Blue ones instantly restore the Man of Steel's energy, while yellow crystals grant you an instant charged projectile blast. Red crystals only appear in flying stages and offer a screen-clearing blast, wiping out enemies in a pinch. Each stage consists of 3 distinct levels. You'll start off with a traditional side-scrolling beat-em-up section, brawling through streets and buildings. Next, you'll transition into a vertically flying section. Finally, it shifts gears again into a side-scrolling shoot-em-up segment, where Superman switches from hand-to-hand combat to continuous heat vision. Each of these sections, whether on foot or in flight, culminates in a boss fight, thoroughly testing Superman's powers. Superman is a much better shoot-em-up than it is a beat-em-up. Shooting sections just felt smoother in their execution. Also, the beat-em-up play in this game just gets pretty redundant. The game does have a fair share of boss fights, and while I'm not sure of the bosses' names because, like I said, mostly original characters, these include a monster, fireman, numerous encounters with Zaz's alien spaceship, Vanishing Man, an elephant-headed alien, maybe Metallo, the alien mothership, and then finally Emperor Zaz. For the bosses on foot, like the monster and Vanishing Man, I found that they were easier to hit when flying above them and trying to kick them. For hand-to-hand aerial combat bosses like Fireman, Metallo, and the elephant-headed alien, patience was key, waiting to dodge their projectiles and then move in close, with a combination of both punches and kicks. For the shoot-em-up spaceship flights, it's best to just take your time avoiding projectiles and get your shots in when you can. The last fight against Zaz was a little tough. He had 2 monsters on screen at all times, and they automatically respawn after being defeated. Zaz is on a levitating platform, and attacking him head-on will cause him to kick you. You'll want to attack him with low punches when his platform is near the top of the screen, and high kicks when his platform is near the bottom. And now, it's time to answer the question, how much did I spend to beat Superman the arcade game? As I normally do, I played this game on an arcade emulator and set up a counter to increase every time I hit the insert coin button. I play these games on their default settings, so for Superman that means medium difficulty and 25 cents per play. This game took me about 33 minutes to complete, and at the end, my grand total came to $5.50. Now, in 1988, $5.50 would feel like spending $15.05 in today's money. My cost per minute for the game was about 15 cents. For the bosses, they weren't too hard, and I was able to defeat most of the early ones without having to continue. The ones that did take my money were the elephant-headed alien, the second spaceship fight, Metallo, the second encounter with the elephant-headed alien, the second encounter with Fireman, the 4th level spaceship, and the mothership, which all took 25 cents for me. Emperor Zaz cost 2 continues, taking 50 cents from me, so this brings my boss total to $2, so just under about half of what I spent completely. Now let's bust out the Predatory game scale to determine just how predatory this game was in stealing your money. The overall cost to beat this game was kind of average. The cost per minute being 15 cents was pretty low, but kind of put it in the same ballpark as other beat-em-ups. When it comes to the game cheating or being unfair, I didn't really notice any of these mechanics that put it into this category. For punitive game mechanics, they weren't extremely significant, but the game is very stiff and not fluid. And the one more try appeal, if I were to find this game in the arcade, would I keep going? Probably not. The game's just kind of boring. Value for money, same thing. I don't know if you're really getting a lot of value out of this game. It's just kind of something that I may play and then just walk away from. To me, it kind of just felt like Taito had the Superman IP and just slapped the most basic general knowledge of Superman into a generic arcade beat-em-up, knowing that the IP itself would sell. Even something as simple as having enemies from Superman's Rogues Gallery would make this game just a little bit more interesting. So, that being considered, throwing all of this into my Predatory games equation, Superman the arcade game received a Predatory game score of a 5 out of 10. Honestly, if this game was fun, it would be much lower. Sure, you won't be hooked on the Superman arcade game, but going in, you're expecting it to be a little bit better, and it's just a downright disappointment. It just feels like Taito pushed out a half-baked game knowing it would make money, and that in itself is a little bit predatory. Next time on Arcade Economy, I'm playing through the 1983 interactive Laserdisc game Dragon's Lair, so I hope you join me on that one. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, it would mean a great deal to me if you could give it a big thumbs up. And if you'd like to support the channel, you can do so through YouTube memberships or Patreon. You can get some of my videos a day early and ad-free, plus access to the Arcade Economy livestream. Until next time, thank you for your support, and I hope you join me on my next video.